Welcome back to another Ways episode. My name's Osama. Actually, my name
Your
is
name
not
is not
Muhammad.
Osama. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, you
that's the
caught me off
first.
guard with that one.
That's the first time that's ever happened. My name is
You
Muhammad. I'm
caught
here with
me off
Osama.
guard.
Osama, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good, Osama. My name is Mohammed for today. Today we have a special guest for you guys. I've known this amazing individual for almost 5 years now. Uh, and we've been talking for the past couple of months of like he's like one guy that always drives me. He's like, yo, where's the podcast? Where's the podcast? His name is Khalid. Khalid, bro, welcome.
Hey, I feel welcomed, yo. I got mad love for you guys. I always love the name. What are you saying? Just because, like, being from where we're from, we always say, "Yo, what are you saying, fam?" So, like, it was very,
Yes,
very, very
sir.
perfect name for a podcast.
Fun
So
fact:
I
the
feel
person that came up with the name is this guy right there,
the Globinator.
the Globinator,
No,
bro.
the
Yes.
funny thing is, no one really asked how the name came up. So when we
No,
started the
So
maybe
let's
we'll leave
just
podcast,
that.
let's just
Yeah,
let's just start with that, yo.
when we started the podcast, me and Osama, we spent so much time, literally like 1 month, trying to figure out a name, and it got
yeah.
to the point I was so angry because we just couldn't figure out a name, and we were like, yo, we won't start anything else until we get a name for the podcast, right? So Osama had a name. I forgot what the name was, but for me, I was thinking about like when I used to work. There was these three guys, and they always used to say, "Yo, what are you saying? What are you saying?" Like ways and
What are you
stuff,
saying? What are
right?
you saying? What are you
And
saying?
that always stuck in my mind. So we were thinking about the podcast. I was like, "Yo, Osama, why don't we use Ways?" It's like, "What are you saying?" I'm like, "Yeah, why don't we use that for the podcast?" And he's either between Ways and another name. I forgot the original name. Do you remember Osama? The other name for Ways?
Yo, I remember I remember it was like we obviously started April 2018, April 1st, 2018. But I remember the first conversations that we've had were around like May 2018 Ramadan. I remember like me and Mo were talking. We're like, I remember one of the our conversation earliest conversation. It was like how we're gonna end it. And I remember I was like, how about we say, because you want to be obviously impactful and like I don't know, engaging. So I remember I said like, yo, how about we say, how we ended off as like, yo, how do you feel? What did we make? Something along those lines. But I think one of the first yeah, and I remember at the time it would have been cringy now. I remember at the time I was like, oh yeah, it fit the perspective, it fit this, it fit that. But I don't know what I remember. I had a couple names. I just forget. Maybe it's in your notes. You had to go back to your old notes. 'Cause I remember we wrote a lot of stuff down. This is 4 years ago, mind you, almost 4 years ago.
Yeah, the name comes so natural, to be honest. Like it's actually elite. So I don't
Yeah,
know. Like I know like you're saying it took you some time, but eventually it worked out in your
I
favor.
think a lot of people don't know that me, Muhammad, took an unorthodox approach to how we started our ways. Like a lot of people in the beginning will like go and say,
I feel like for you
"Oh,
guys that happened naturally, bro, because you guys like you guys, yo, man, relax. Um, biting me up and shit. Like you guys are already like like having these type of conversations and having like diving deeper into your psyche with each other naturally. So it just I don't know. I feel like
I
that's it's like
think
a very perfect.
what also helps is knowing Muhammad like since I was 6 years old kind of helped in terms of like we knew each other and like even though like obviously like we had our bad times, our good times, the times we're not seeing eye to eye, and obviously when we reconciled back in 2017. No, exactly. So I feel like a lot of people, like I'm telling you, like obviously you're a barber, obviously you have a business, and like by the way, if you are in the GTA area, you do not go to K cuts, you're living under a rock. I'm just put that out there. That's you. That's you too, Mo. That's you too, Glowinator. No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying, but all jokes aside, I do definitely believe that you do want when it comes to that perspective, like I think with ways and how it's an unorthodox approach. A lot of people would always ask, like they knew something was happening, they just gonna put like a ring to it. And there's a lot of people who were around us at the time when we would go to like our work sessions. They would be like, "What are these guys talking about?" I think the birth of ways really was when you did All for Love. That's when it got people like. I'll let Muhammad explain because this guy is the mastermind behind it.
Hold on, before you bring that up, I remember even time, bro. Before you guys even actually launched Waze in the first place, you had brought it up with me beforehand, like way beforehand. Like you're both of
Yeah,
you, because you used to pull up to the shop too. You guys would bring it up. You guys been cooking on it for time before it even became like an actual thing. So like the
yeah.
predisposed ideologies is very apparent. Like this didn't just happen.
No, no, no.
Like it was years in the making, even before the idea of the podcast was born. Like you said, you guys been homies for a minute. So like,
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think
shit
I think that
flies.
shows obviously on camera and obviously off camera as well. But I have a question for you because my question to you is, what is the best? Like, sorry, it's a very it's an early morning. My question to you is, what is the biggest misconception of you? Because people obviously know you for who you are. You stand out. Everyone loves you for who you are, your personality and everything. But like we talked about off camera, there's certain things about you off camera that a lot of people don't know about you that kind of be surprised. Because obviously to know that you're more deeper, more multi-layered kind of
Yeah,
person. What is the
yeah.
biggest misconception of you? What do you think?
Hmm. Let's see, bro. You're really starting it off for a fucking Sunday morning, 10 o'clock conversation. You know, now
Two ways, bro.
I gotta go look in the mirror for a second, and ask myself. Let me think about that, bro. What if I feel like I don't want to like I don't know I can't really pinpoint like a specific misconception, but I could say like being a barber, you kind of have to do like as time progresses, you kind of have to figure out how you're going to set yourself aside in the sense of where like you have clients and then you have friends, and you have to
Yeah.
understand that balance between who I'm going to let into my life personally, and they're going to know things about me, and then who's going to just stay in that lane as like a client. So like I'll have people that I cut that don't know, like I'm very family oriented, I'm already married. I've I do a lot of things outside of just cutting itself. Like I'm into fashion, I'm into art, I like drawing, um, all these different things about my actual life. You have to learn as a barber, like where you're gonna set yourself up, you know. So they're not misconceptions. It's just you kind of have to know where or who you're gonna keep in the dark about your personal things and who you won't. Not everybody you can just let into your life. Because not everybody's gonna have glad tidings. Some people will have malice in their heart if you tell them one thing or the other. So you kind of have to be wary, and you learn that with time. Obviously, like you'll learn that too. The more people you have on your podcast, the more people you meet. It's not every like you two know a lot of people, but you're not gonna invite everybody onto your podcast. So
No.
you kind of have to be picky and choosy about it. Um, yeah, bro. I feel like I could think about that question. I could think about that question longer, and we'll come back around to it. But that's like one thing I could bring up in a sense where you kind of
Well,
just have to be wary, you know?
let me ask you a question because you were like we were always talking about the introduction to ways. I remember like we had a brief conversation each time I would come to get a cut at your place about like how you start the barber. But was your goal always to become a barber as a kid, or like did that build up as you got older?
Mm, Not necessarily, brother. Like you guys are aware, I've done other things before I was a barber too. It just kind of like you have to like when you come up with a career aspect of like when you think and
Hmm.
start thinking about a career, you can never really know where it's gonna go, you know. And when how barbering was born for me, it was born just out of love for like fades in general, not being a barber. I just like fades. So what did I do? You go buy a clipper and you start practicing. I wasn't planning on becoming a barber. Barbering became a career 5 years after I picked up a clipper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can't really make that call. I didn't see it coming, to be honest with you, and I don't think my partner saw it coming either. It's just something that came around out of like necessity and time. You know, that's the best way I could put it for you.
One thing I want to ask, you mentioned earlier you draw, right? And
Yeah,
I didn't know that about you when I first met you. Actually, for the longest time, it wasn't until I really got to know you then I just started seeing your drawings and obviously how much you love arts and different kind of styles and everything. And once I
yeah,
saw that, it totally related to who you are, your personality, how your shop is designed, and the elements, right? So as a
yeah. It
drawer,
translates through.
it translates through. So that translation, as you said, like as a drawer and loving for animations and different styles and just the visual elements, how does that feed into you as a barber? Like, how does that translate into when you're cutting
Yo,
hair and
honestly,
design
it
of
could
that?
be a handicap. To be honest with you, like there's a lot of barbers, right? And there's like being a barber, like the industry is massive. So if you are a barber, you're gonna make money because everybody has hair. Like there's always enough. There's never like a shortage of clients or a shortage of like I don't like that. I'll never down another barber's skill. I'll never down another barber's business just because it doesn't fucking matter because there's enough people for everybody to eat in the hair industry. You understand what I'm saying? But it makes you more critical because I'm looking at haircuts more so in the artistic aspect. So people will say like, oh, like I love your haircuts in specific for a specific reason. That's because I am, and I truly believe like I'm more so an artist like at heart. Like I like fashion. I look at people's head shapes in silhouette form. I don't see your head as a skull. I'm looking at the angles of how I'm gonna make it, like how I'm gonna manipulate your hair, you know, and make the contrasts look more like just presentable. So if someone comes up to me and asks me for a high skin fade and they have an ugly head shape, I'm gonna tell you no. I don't care. I don't care if it's what you want. It's not what's gonna look good, you know. So
It's
like you
funny
said, like
because each time I come to this guy, you always roast my hair in the beginning.
Important though, like, but why do you make that decision to stand on your ground? Because
yeah,
most barbers be like, yo, I'll just do it for the money. Screw it, I'll cut
exactly.
you like you wanted. Even though
Nah,
you
but
might
there's too much
complain, I'll take the
integrity.
money.
I'll lose sleep over shit like this, you know, and I have. Like, I literally, if I do a haircut that I know that I could have done better, or I know wasn't the right haircut, I will literally think about it for the following rest of the day, even throughout the rest of my haircuts, and that started from just being an artist in general, you know. You're very critical of your work, and as an artist, some artists like they'll do paintings, several drawings, and they'll always say, "Oh,
Yeah,
that was not done." It looks
I
done, but
like.
oh, that was not done.
I
That
actually
was
like how
not
you
done.
said you should be your own your biggest critic, because I know for me, a lot of people always ask me, like, do I listen back to podcasts? I actually don't, unless I have to edit them or like certain things that went wrong is the only time when I go back. Because for me, when I'm in the moment, I'm taking all the information in. So I know, for example, something is if it's gonna get uploaded or if not. Like hypothetically, this could do bad, and me and Muhammad will have our conversations like, no, we didn't get the best out of us, and like Cal wasn't there. We're gonna redo it.
Yeah,
So I don't like
and
listening
and
back, and
and
people find it weird.
but that's valid though. Like, how are you gonna check yourself? Who's gonna check you more than yourself? Like
Exactly.
Globinator could check you, but he's not gonna check you as hard as you would.
No, and absolutely,
Like
and I feel, just to say something quickly. I remember there was one podcast that we did. I think it was about I think it was about pain, right, Mo? And this is probably like
about pain.
April. Like we're talking about pain, like struggle, like
Oh
pain
my
and
god,
struggle.
holy!
So ironically enough, it was painful to record because internet connection was bad that day for both of us, and also too, after we started, we thought we were talking for an hour. It was a 3 hour conversation, and then none of the audio went well. It couldn't be fixable. So in my head, I'm like, I don't need to go and listen to it. We did bad because we were repeating ourselves for the longest time. So I feel a lot of people don't know, as a creative, that there's a lot of times where you're like, I don't like this. You just probably like 1,000 art pieces you do it, like 100 episodes that you do before you found that right one. Like this is gonna be episode 86. And if people go back to our first podcast, which I remember till this day vividly, like now I'm not talking about the one that came out when we were. I'm talking about the ones,
What was the topic on the first podcast that you
the
guys
first
done?
one that that went on on platforms was what to do during the pandemic. The first one we ever
Oh,
recorded
because it was
publicly
at
was
that
about
time.
social media at that time. But mind you, if you go back and see the transition, like, people who know us personally know we can have deep conversations, we can have intellectual conversations. People who are listening to us on these platforms probably don't know that there's probably 300 videos plus that have not even been uploaded. Mind you, when we were practicing. But I believe as a creative, just going back to what Khalid said, you have to be critical. You cannot, just because someone says it's trash. If you think it's trash, that means there's something wrong with it. But if you think it's good, then you have to go better going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Like what you think is flawless, someone else is gonna see as garbage, right? But it
One
doesn't
hundred
matter
percent.
because as long as, like you said, as long as you're checking your own work and like you're being critical and you're being honest, because you could be checking your own work, you could be lying to yourself a lot too, just to make yourself feel better, you know? Because I've been there, like you know what I mean, like even coming up as a barber, you know, like I used to tell people, "Oh yeah, 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 I'll do whatever, bro. Come, just come sit in my fucking chair. I don't care." And I knew in my heart, in my mind, "Oh, I'm about to struggle with this guy's hair. Oh, I can't do this," but I would just do it anyway, and it would look like shit. But I'd be like, "Yeah, bro, yeah, I'll see you next week, fam. Come on, yo, yeah, yeah, let's get it," you know?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm just selling it up until I believed it, and then I believed it up until the point where I was seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what
Like
artists have, mind you.
you kind of have to will it into existence. Like
One
tawakkal
hundred
Allah, bro,
percent.
and just go. You just
One
go,
hundred percent. Well,
and that's
I think when it comes to business, I think as you said, you have to believe in something. You have to believe in the manifestation of something before it even happens. Like for example, tomorrow I was watching like Drake's interview, like the last interview he did in 2019. He was talking. He was like he would always go around like the rich Aaron bridle path, and he would always take his date and say, "One day I'm gonna live here." I kind of do something similar where I always drive around Lakeshore when I'm like going like I'm just going driving, almost vision myself. I want to live in like not to say that area, but I
Bro,
do
I
want
thought
to
you
have a
used to
big
drive around
house.
Burger King. What are you talking about, man?
No, bro, relax.
Dundas, Winston Churchill. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's the spot, yo. That BK, you know, you get that the what's it called, the chicken and the Whopper for 2 for $6. Come on.
Yo, listen, I go, but here's the thing. Rich people are intelligent, so I'm gonna go past my house and then go to Burger King, get myself a two can dine meal. But all jokes aside, I do believe that you said something really impactful. I hope people are listening that you have to envision. If you're not envisioning yourself to be at a certain point, you have to do some reevaluation because any success. I remember one time I was talking to my friends and I told them, your goal doesn't happen without a dream. You have to have a dream. It has to start from somewhere. I always say, people always say, oh, your dreams need goals. 100% true. But your goal without a dream is just like meaningless because it has to come from a subjective meaning.
It's just
Like,
an
why do you
idea.
want exactly? And
I have
that's
a
the way I look at
question.
it.
Ideas.
Like
There's no
obviously now you
execution.
put in the work. You put in the work. Obviously, clearly, like you're successful in what you do. People know for who you are. You have a style. You have clients. You manifested everything that you desired. You put in the 10,000 hours. That's what they say. 10,000 hours to master
Makes you
something.
pro. Yeah.
As opposed to now, before when you started as a barber, that accountability factor, like you said, like sometimes you just give people haircuts and you knew it wasn't good, but obviously you just did it just to do it. Who held you accountable back then, and how do you keep yourself accountable now?
See, that's the problem. No one. Who's gonna hold you accountable? It's just you. It's all a mental game. It was all a mental game and like a physical game. Because like this is kind of like tying into like I'm kind of fast forwarding, but like when I started, who I thought I was gonna be at this age is not who I've become, and you kind of have to live with that because like I don't want to say like I would have been I mentally thought I would have been like further in different aspects and behind in others. You just have to accept the progress for what it is. But at that time when I was starting and I was like, okay, I manifested, like you said, I got, a lot of things that I thought I wanted, I did attain. And when you get there,
Hmm.
you're like, was this supposed to feel like this, or was I expecting something else? So like manifestation is one thing, but controlling your expectations is a whole separate aspect because like sometimes life is like the reality of it is way more harsh than you expect.
That's
Like
why I stopped setting expectations.
I walked into the shop, those four walls when I was 19, 20 years old. And now I recently turned 26. I couldn't have guessed that I would have even been there that long. But at the time, you're signing a lease. You're like, okay, this is 5 years. How old am I going to be when I'm done this lease? Okay, what am I going to have? Am I going to have this car? Am I going to have this? Am I going to have that? And you
Yeah.
go through all these different motions. And come that time, you look at yourself in the mirror like, damn, like, is this what it was supposed to feel like? Or did I over like anticipate what how like or did I glorify the idea of what it was going to be like? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. But I think endlessly that should also put like and I feel where you're coming from because even sometimes with ways, funny enough that you say that 3 years ago, before when our first video podcast, I'm gonna call it unofficial because to me that's old us. When it first came out, I remember I was talking to Muhammad about it. And he was like, "Yo," I'm like, "What do you?" And mind you, no one, I never expected it to get 1,000 views within the time it did. Mind you, because 1,000 views to me at that point, like fighting one video, you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, it did well. Obviously, like we've had other videos hit 1,000, which to me now I want more because like now I'm much more aware. But to go back to what you said, I stopped setting expectations. Expectations I feel like lead to failure. So I do have milestones, and once I reach those milestones, I set new milestones. Because I remember when I was 21 years old, I was like working with Meets by Dr. Dre, like one of my jobs I had in the past. And I was talking to some girl, and I was like, "Yo, by 26, I'm gonna have this, and that." And I didn't have none of that, mind you. Like I'm 26 now, but I looked back. I'm like, why am I setting? I feel once you set an expectation, you're setting an expiry date, as opposed to when you say, I'm gonna have that house. I'm gonna have this. Doesn't matter when I attain it, I will do it. Because ideally, like as we said, like sometimes I feel like I failed. I've even had a conversation with Mo about this. I mean, I've had like we've like with ways where things don't work out, but I think you have to know what works and what doesn't. Even for you as a barber, like when you're going in with haircuts or when you're going with like business, you know what? At this point, you kind of know what works or what doesn't. And that's over like as Muhammad said, 10,000 hours of experience plus. Like this is like all knowledge to you. And yes, I'm like my biggest advice is don't set expectations because to me I would always do that. And each time I would hit a certain age, I'm like, this is not what I expected to be at 25 or 24. So now, thankfully, I'm much more content. And if I don't meet something, I continue to work and I cancel all the noise.
I'm glad to hear that, to be honest. Like that's something like that would only happen with like predisposed growth and taking L's, to be honest. Like we can't act
Yeah.
that as creatives or as anybody who's gonna try their own venture. Like Globinator might he's doing waves now. Who's to say in 2 years he's doing something else? You know what I mean? Who's to say in the
Yeah,
next year you're not doing something
100%.
else? But you can't act like you're not gonna fucking like take tons of L's like I have along the way, financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, like there's like, the list goes on. Like as a barber, there's no days off. Like I've worked a Saturday and Sunday every Saturday, Sunday since I was 19. A lot of people aren't willing to work weekends every year for years on end. Like that perspective alone, people go, oh, I'm not doing that. I like my Monday to Friday. I need my Saturday off so I could, have my mimosa in the backyard and shit.
That differentiates you between other entrepreneurs
Yeah.
because you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Like there's been like what happened, right, bro? I fell and I broke my rib. 2 days later, I was doing haircuts the whole day. That's an
Yeah,
excuse
it's
to
not a
take
real.
off a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was cutting. And I was like, yo, who's gonna deal with my shit other than me?
Yeah.
That's not a big deal. Some people like they go through way worse trials and tribulations in their life. That was just something I had to deal with. In the grand scheme of time, very little. But it's something you do have to go through. There's no paid sick leave for this type of shit.
It's amazing because it like so far listening to you,
That's
it
fine.
shows like how resilient you are and like zero excuses, accountability on yourself. And it's a rare trait to have because that means that type of mindset. And like you said, like broken rib and in the store, in the shop 2 days later, it shows that you could apply that mentality in anything. Kind of reminds me of Kobe with like the Mamba mentality. So I
Yeah,
wanted to
Yeah,
ask
I
you,
was gonna
like you
say
talked
man.
about
Rest
earlier
in
with the
peace. Rest in peace,
creatives,
Kobe.
like you talked about creativity, right? Like
rest in peace.
it doesn't matter if it's a sunny day, you're gonna have rainy days sometimes. So when you do face that hardship, what do you do to deal with it? Because you said like you are accountable on yourself, you focus on
Yeah.
yourself, you go to yourself. How do you deal with yourself when you have rainy days?
Mm. Yo, first of all, I want you to answer that question. I want to know what you do because I have an answer for you. I have like an ideology that I type to kind of follow.
Mo, answer the question, bro.
Yeah,
Don't,
I
don't, don't
guess
hold that to Mo.
Yeah, I gave you the uno
yeah. Reverse.
You reversed it. No one's ever
uh,
done that.
because I've talked to you quite a bit, but like not enough. Like I know Mr. Kusa quite well, but I want to know a little bit more about the Globinator before I give you that answer.
No worries. For myself, whenever I have rainy days, I literally just it's just submission, bro. So
You
I
answer?
literally have to be by myself, and I have to make prayers. So if I'm making prayers, I feel at peace. Because for me, it's all about clarity, right? Because I want to see what the fog is. So I just need to make prayers. If I have that time to myself, I'm good. So whether that's like watching a documentary, writing, making prayers, just peace and easiness, that's all.
Yeah,
That's gonna clear up that space, that mental fog that I need. And with that, I could just walk through and just be on 100 again, right? But sometimes, like you
yeah,
said, like things will happen. But for me, like you said, like I know how to deal with myself. I know what makes me happy. And I know what my bad side is. So if I know I'm in a bad state of mind, I want to fix it as quick as possible because you never know what's gonna happen. Like you never know who's gonna need you and rely on you and stuff, right?
that's
So
true. Yeah,
that's what I do to make sure that I get myself out of the
and
funk
and
as quick
you're
as
and you're
possible.
married now too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So yo, you can't always be folding like that because you
No,
have a dependent now.
yeah,
It's not as much as about you and how you feel now.
at all.
You you could be feeling like ass, but you still have to pretend like what? Like everything's on the up and up. And why? Why is that? Because that's kind of like a thing that men have to do too. I don't want to make it like a men and woman thing, but like as a man in a relationship and married, you have to hug it all, The good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, you gotta hug it. And you gotta put your chin up and keep moving. It's not really up to you.
I think just I wanted to add on to your point
Biggest
before.
thing I learned recently.
I,
No,
I think just I wanted to add on to your point before. I think there's a couple things as to why I think that there's a reason why the three of us. I'm obviously not married. I'm still single, but having conversations with both of you. Obviously, you're both married. There's a couple of reasons. One, I think coming from our cultural background, obviously, Chaldean, you're a Palestinian, more you're Ghanaians. I think the cultural background, we know that there's a sense of like our cultures don't mess around with like laziness. That you have to work hard. Obviously, for it doesn't matter what you do in life. There's that sense of working hard and being that man. Obviously, specifically within the Arab household, I can speak for Arabs. That Arabs, I'm not again. This is not like men versus women, but obviously Arabs are like men of the house. He has to take care of the family, the wife. No matter the wife could be a millionaire, like you just have to find a way to like take care of the family, make sure like everything together. But I do believe the greatest thing, because like asking that rainy day question, both of you, mashallah, have good wives, and I think having a good person with you when you're in your rainy day, aside from doing your spiritual du'as and whatever, is good to have because they're also there to comfort you when you do need someone to talk to. Because 9 times out of 10, when you're single, you can go to one of your boys, but having that person who's your backbone, who's your support, also shows us like I don't care if no one else supports me, I just need that one person to support me. That one person.
Oh, I agree. And like you said, those rainy days, like before marriage, it was very easy to isolate myself and do what I had to do. But now it's like, it doesn't matter if you're up or down and you're neutral. If that person is feeling bad, you have to do your best to take care of that person. You can't just go and
It's
isolate
not up to
yourself
you.
and do what you know. Like, you have to make sure that person's okay before you guys go to sleep that night. So I can't
Yeah,
just go and do what I want to do and then come back. Like, no, like she's depending on me. So whether I
yeah.
like it or not, that's my job as a husband, as a protector overall, right? So I
Hmm.
have to make sure that we're together. So for us, like a rule is, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Like if we have a problem or something, we are not going to sleep until it's resolved because we don't want
Yeah,
that to linger on and become like bigger
into the
issues
next
later
day.
on, right? Like we got
Yeah,
to fix that foundation and make sure it's clear and fixed at all times.
it becomes a boiling pot if you don't address things like head on, you know. And your coping mechanisms obviously
100%.
changed. I'm sure you noticed a global that your coping mechanisms has changed. Your routine, like you said, on the rainy day, what the way you maneuver, like prayers guaranteed. Like you're still gonna keep that up, but everything else is gonna have to change because you're not alone anymore. You know? Yeah,
Funny
it
because like,
snowballs.
yeah, it's funny because like we are talking about marriage earlier. For me, like you talked about the dad, like you don't see it until you get married about how much your dad goes through. Because for me, I have three brothers. I've never had a sister. So obviously with guys, everything's logical as far as like dealing with the problem and solving it, as far as the solution. And mom is mom, so that love, that attachment is different. Like the unconditional love is different. So now being married, it's like, hey, when something's wrong, when she needs something, the language is not just logical. It doesn't work. It doesn't apply. That's all I knew. So now I'm trying to
Yeah.
use the logical side, and it's not working. It's making me frustrated. You have to be. They're emotional. Number one, right? So you have to figure out how to
Yo, you're
use that,
honestly so
bro.
smart for figuring that out this early, bro. Yo, good on you, because
Thank
like
you, man.
you coined that pretty early. That's something I'm still learning to this day, and I still struggle with. And I grew up with I have four older sisters, you know, and I
Yeah,
came up, and it was very like emotionally charged, you know. But I was the first boy after four girls, so like I feel like I always came up with like a chip on my shoulder, you know. I always had something to prove to me, my pops, and anybody else around me. Um, and like you said, we naturally think we want to problem solve. We're always thinking logic. Oh, you're vent. Sometimes they could be just venting. You know,
yeah.
for us, we're taking it as like, oh, okay, so so this is what you need to do. But that's not what they want to hear. They
No.
just need to be heard.
Hmm.
That alone is like for a woman. Like I don't want to. Maybe I'm generalizing, but like it helps them process just being heard and like they don't want to know what the fuck to do next. You know, they don't
No.
want to hear it, you know?
Yeah,
But they just
Yeah.
need
sometimes
to know
it's.
that they're heard.
I remember one of my friends called me like maybe like a couple months ago, and she just wanted at this point, she just wanted to like I'm not just come. She's texting me. I don't think she wanted a response. Even though I responded because she didn't respond after what I said. But as you guys said, she just wanted someone to hear her out in terms of like the situation that she was in. And a lot of the times, I'm obviously not married. I have a sister. I have a sister who's 1 year younger than me. So in terms of emotional, I'm kind of getting a little bit better than a lot better because a lot of my answers like logically and like just make sense, almost like a math formula. It's like this is what you need to do: X plus Y equals Z, bro. Ain't nothing about it. But sometimes it's because they might know that. It's almost like you have to break it down slowly and emotionally, like to have build up that conversation. Almost like you're telling a story. You have to build up to that answer, but you can't just give them that answer directly. From what I realized from my experiences, mind you, and obviously just like learning from Mo because he's always in like I'm always like learning wisdom from this guy. So yeah, so that's really all I
The
can say about
Globinator,
marriage. I'm
come
not.
on.
I'm not. Globinator is married. Khalid's married. I'm obviously
You're
not.
next, bro.
Yeah.
One
I've
day,
actually,
inshallah, bro.
bro, I've been married for like a year and like 10 days around, like a year and 9 days. My anniversary was last week, or the week before that. And let me tell you,
You were in the Dominican.
I went to the Dominican for a 1 year anniversary slash honeymoon because like I got married in the middle of
Yo,
COVID.
this
But
guy can rap.
time
FYI, bro.
flew. I cannot rap. That was all. That
Yeah,
was all just.
I saw
That
that.
was years of practicing on the highway, yo.
Let me ask you both a
But
question
mm,
because you're both married. right? Obviously, you said you got married a year ago. Mo, you got married what 4 months ago, I believe it was
At
4 or 5 months
3 months.
ago,
Yeah.
I remember that.
3 4 months ago. So my question is to you guys is like, aside from your accolades, what you did individually, right? A lot of people right now, we're getting to this place called coughing season where it's gonna get cold and people want relationships, right?
Gotta stay warm, yo.
You do gotta stay warm, mind you. A lot of people are also trying to find someone. So how did you guys build your character? It's like, you know what, at one point, the reason why women weren't looking at me for some reason is this. Like, how did you guys go from the person you were? It's not talking about your skills, your accolades, talking about your character, like
Just
individual.
yourself.
Yeah, you're yourself.
Um,
To get
you know, to be honest, I was always extremely confident in who I was at throughout the years, whether I was a waste man or not. And let me tell you, like I could be a waste man right now in someone's eyes, but I could
yeah,
not be in someone else's, right? But it didn't matter what I was doing. I always was confident in whatever I was doing. Like I never like cared about other people's opinions. I never bothered with other people's opinions. And whether I was like, getting attention from the opposite sex or not, it didn't matter to me. So I feel like that issue in specific wasn't really a problem for me. Even if I wasn't doing shit, I didn't care. You know,
hmm
like this is way before I was a barber, way before the rise of the internet and how much it controls the ways people's perception of who you are. Like this is kind of veering off into a separate lane, but the same topic. Like I know of people who they present themselves maybe by accident or subconsciously online as like a fuck boy, or like as like that type of person. But in actuality, once
hmm
you meet this person, they are nothing like that, and they were like way better. Like they are downplaying themselves to match society's expectation of these type of people. They're riddling stuff
yeah,
themselves down here when in actuality, in real life reality, when you meet them, they're like up here. They're actually better. And I see that happening more and more younger dudes. Like like they're just trying to be what they think they need to be doing, when in actuality, them being themselves is setting them apart, and you're being better than the average. You understand? A lot of people
no,
are
yeah,
bringing
for sure.
themselves down to match the average status quo. And that's a problem, to be honest. And that's the fucking internet's issue.
The
It's
internet has a lot of issues. Well, I
global,
could touch on it
global. You
after.
could, you could, you could, you can answer his question as well. You could see where you could take it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, man, like everyone knows, back then I was just like Osama, like I was put in the box, so we were just known as the funny guys, and that was pretty much
Yeah,
it. So as far as attention from girls and stuff, it was only just to make them laugh. So around like
yeah,
high
right.
school and like early like college and pretty much high school, like everyone's that one guy meets that girl. It's like, oh my god, who's next and stuff. I was like, yo, like I didn't tell myself I had no chance. I just knew like the kind of person I was and the girls that everyone's going for, it just wasn't gonna match at all, right? So it wasn't until college, university, that's when you saw like everyone had an opportunity. Like guys who had no chance in high school had a girl and stuff and all that stuff. But even then, for myself, like someone knew, like I had high standards. Everyone's like, man, your standards are too high. It's too high. It's too high. Like the type of girl that you want is
But
too
you
high. It's too
held
high. It's
yourself
too
to
high.
that standard, though. No,
I did, and I used to
exact.
get roasted,
Regardless.
man. Day and night, sunny and winter. I got roasted all the time. But I knew what I wanted was real. I just didn't meet that person. So I'm like, yo, once that person is here, everything that you guys been saying, it perishes, right? And mashallah,
Yeah.
I finally met that person, and alhamdulillah, I'm thankful, right? But that was
Alhamdulillah.
just pretty much it. It was just like, yo, I'm just a funny guy. People don't know I have a deep side. Obviously that person who I'm bound to meet will find out, and that was the case. Like when I reconnect with Osama, like the first time we spoke, in like
What do you
years
mean
before,
reconnect?
we didn't talk for like over 5 years.
10 years.
Like you just kind of
Yeah,
Yeah, we had like a
but
fallout.
like
We had a
life went in
that's a
fallout.
whole
different
different.
life went in different directions.
Yeah, me and Mike
We
get
had a
right.
beef early on, and then like we kind of solved it, but went our own ways. And then we came back around like 6 years later and stuff. But the first time I talked
Yeah.
to Osama, I was expecting to be
Oh
the
yeah,
funny guy. Because that box that people put me in, especially girls, I did the same thing to him, unfortunately, right? And at this time, we're older. We're like, what, 23 years old or 22? So when I talked to him
22, 21.
and Osama started talking, I'm like, yo, in my head, I'm like, I looked at my friend, I'm like, no, when Osama left, I looked at my friend, I'm like, yo, is that like, I've known this guy since I was 6.
Is that the same dude?
Is that the same? I never knew he was so wise. Like, I did not know that he was so wise. And my friend's like, yeah, I guess. But I'm like, bro, you do not understand. Like, I've known him since I was 6. So I think the fact that like I knew you, obviously our friend, he didn't know you as much as I did. I just couldn't
Mm-hmm.
believe that. I couldn't believe that you transformed or you're always that person, but people didn't see. But even I myself didn't recognize it. And the fact that I didn't see it, I guess, kind of hurt me and shocked me for the fact that I wasn't there to witness that
Yeah,
transformation. So the fact that I didn't see you become that wise person, I was shocked
yeah.
and I was like, man, I really missed
Can
out.
I? Yeah, can I add on to that?
So you missed the
Because I remember I.
transformation, is what
I
you're
missed
saying.
it, man. I
But
was
the
shocked.
thing
I was
is
like,
that
bro,
the
what?
the thing is for me is I had that same picture of Mo. Like the thing that people don't understand, like yes, I've known this guy since I was 6 years old. For a lot of people, don't get to say that. No, not everybody could say I've known someone for 20 years plus.
Facts. You'd be surprised how little people that
You
can say
know.
that.
So and a lot of people say, oh, like I've known this person for 6 years, but 20 years, and me and this guy went through so much. I remember after like our beef, high school, I think around grade 10, we became cordial. We had a lot of mutual friends. If we were in this, it's each other's vicinities, it was all professional. But no one knew that I knew this guy or he knew me, unless you grew up with us. You knew that. Aside from that, people thought like we just met at our high school. I remember when I first reconciled with you. This is my first experience talking to this guy about like it was our you met our other friend. His name was Nick. I remember I was at Wendy's in the morning. At this point in my head, I'm like, man, I don't think Mo wants to see me out. Like, I'm like, I was thinking, man, this is awkward. Bro, this guy's inviting Mo. I haven't spoken to this guy properly in like years. But it was funny because our friend was so isolated, and me and this guy were having a full-on conversation, and it was the deepest conversation. I'm like, Mo's not a funny guy no more. Not a single joke was made. Not a single joke was, and I take pride. At one point, I took pride in being funny, but
Same.
I don't do that no more. I don't do that no more because in my head, I'm like, I hear people making jokes. I'm like, I can do a better punchline. I don't care about that because now life has
Yeah.
kind of hit me a lot more seriously. So I feel
Mm,
like the same way Mo viewed me is how I viewed him when I first reconciled with him. And it's not. And at that point, I was already grown up. So in my head, I'm like, and funny is like when our mutual friend reconciled us, I don't think he even knew we had beef. But when he brought it together, we became much more closer then.
then the friend from like
Yeah,
that
because
introduced you guys.
exactly.
That's usually how it works, to be honest. But yo, that's honestly like the blessing of just like being transparent as guys. Like I've been in a situation too where I've had falling out with guys like more so later in life, like closer to adult life, you know. And
Hmm.
we're able to dead beef, you know. If you're willing to face things head on, you can dead beef with a guy within a 5 minute conversation, you know. Like throwing hands, that shit's in the past, you know.
Yeah.
It's childish behavior, you know. And like you guys said, beef when you were kids, you know, like technically you were kids. So
Yeah, we were youths.
when you reconnected later in life, like you realize like, yo, maybe you guys went head to head because you were more alike than you even anticipated. You
You
know,
know,
that's
you
happened
know,
to me before.
Never
yeah.
thought about that.
That no, trust
Look,
me, I'm being dead
I
ass.
know,
That's
I know,
happened to me
I
before
know,
with
I
other
know,
people.
I
I'll
never
beef
thought of that
someone
either.
because he was exactly like me.
I never
I'd
thought
be like,
about that.
yo, you can't take you like you're not like me, bro. Move from me, you know. Until later on,
Honestly,
you'd
it's
be like,
funny.
oh, maybe I should have just kept this guy around, or maybe we
Yeah,
should, you know. Yeah,
I can honestly say one thing though. A lot of people, I've never said this publicly ever. I'm glad that the way our friendship went with Mo and myself went because it taught me so much of what a genuine friend is and what a genuine person is.
100%.
Because
Nah, bro, that's what that's
Mo was never bad at was never bad at, was never a bad person. He was an amazing individual like throughout his whole career. Like there's things I know behind the scenes that he does for people that people would never do for him or do for anybody else. He'll go out of his own way to do stuff, and obviously for you too, Khalid. But the thing is you mentioned social media. A lot of people are always like over the top on social media, but in reality, they're not that person. They're just playing that character, so they seem like that person. I feel like
yeah,
the three of us grew up without social media, so we
yep,
know what a genuine human being is. We know what a fake ass person is. We
yeah.
can
We
we can
have
see
we
right
have
through it.
we have a radar just because of the time we were
Yeah.
born.
I'm very
You know what I mean?
One
thankful
hundred
that
percent.
like when we went through our differences, it was just pretty much the Facebook era, right? So I'm not gonna write on your wall. Pretty much it was just like, yo, don't comment on
You
my wall.
bitch.
Don't comment on. I'm not gonna like your post. Don't comment on my wall, right? So thank God. Like
Yeah,
imagine now if we went through that with
but
Snapchat, IG, and everything, we would have gone at it, right? Like we would have just
yeah,
Yeah,
full out. So
I will,
constantly.
dude.
It's
making
constant.
TikToks back and forth.
I will say I'll say one thing about Mono. In grade 10, this is the first time I remember I had a class with this guy in high school, right? And I remember I switched
What
over to
class was it?
drama. It was drama.
Drama
And I
Oh,
queen.
never,
okay.
I never
Ironic.
seen,
Dramatic.
Ironic.
dude. It's funny. It's funny because I never thought of myself taking drama that year, right? And I take it. Now, at that point, we had a mutual friend who, thank God, out of our lives. It was funny we were talking about it yesterday. But anyways, that's not the point. I remember I see Mo. Like, man, why is this guy in my class? It's not even hatred. It's just more awkward because it's just like we have mutual friends in this class, and now it's just like when I'm with you and you're with me, we have to act like we like each other. But there was an incident that happened, which we'll probably talk about maybe in private. But an incident that happened in the room, right? And then after all those problems go down, it's probably like a week in, or maybe 2 weeks, or maybe a couple days in. This guy for the first time comes up to me. In how many years? He's like, "Yo, I want to talk to you privately." I'm like, "What's up?" And then he shares a bit of information. He's like, "Yo, listen, man, I can tell you after what he said." But and that was the first time he went up to me because not because he knew the good person in me. And he's like, "Yo, like you gotta watch out." And
Like
obviously
he addressed the problem that you guys
he
had
just
is what
said
you're
there was
saying.
an issue, obviously, which he obviously like. I'm gonna say like we weren't a part of it, but like I was kind of defending those guys, and he was like, "Yo, you just keep your mouth shut and whatever." And I can
Yeah.
explain the story fully,
Because
but basically,
if I didn't care about Osama, I wouldn't care if I would let him gone through with the downfall. But the fact that we had that past, and obviously I knew how much of a genuine person he was, even though I still didn't mess with him. I'm like, nah, I can't let that happen to you. Like that's gonna ruin your forget like your
Like
status,
yeah,
reputation, but
you're
like
like
your
your
career.
next.
You want to get into school because what's gonna happen, right? So I'm like, yo, I need to talk to you, right?
Yeah.
So
Also, don't underestimate like the ikhwa of like just like people who come like look at all our skin colors, bro.
yeah, yeah,
I used to fuck with people whether they like if I didn't like you, but if I saw like that we were of like the same like general ethnicity or the same religion, you were always gonna hold a certain point in my heart, even if I didn't like you.
yeah,
Like if I
yeah,
saw something that was gonna happen, I would have spoken up or I would have protected you, even if you didn't know
yeah,
me. Like and that
yeah,
that will always translate through. And like that could be a very like strong factor right there why you could have spoken up for your he's not your
yeah,
boy. He's not your boy, but he comes from like a solid background. He
yeah.
has like he's a God fearing kid.
Good family and everything.
Exactly. So you're like, yo, I'm not gonna see that. Like, I'm not gonna see that happen and not say nothing.
yeah.
I've been in that
Yesterday,
situation before too.
yeah, it's funny because my closest friend to me is probably Mo. Like
The
he's one of my closest friends.
Globinator.
The Globinator is one of my close, and it's funny because yesterday we were coming back from the mosque. There was like some training that they were doing for the volunteer group that we were part of, and
Nice.
mind you, there's a lot of younger kids that are there, right? And they were talking about certain questions they were asking the sheikh. And on the way back, remember me and Mo were like we were discussing. We were like, yo, thank God we're in each other's lives because sometimes when one's going the wrong way, like one stops, the other is like, nah, like what are you doing? Like relax. I remember we both acknowledged like maybe like for like we both like thank God for being in each other's lives because there's so many times where the both of us could have went left, not in a bad way, but just
But
like
you needed the
certain
other one.
you
Bro,
need the other
bro,
one to
Osama,
like stop.
tell him what the kid said. The 16-year-old. It was so sad when he said it, like in front of all of
Oh,
us. Like,
yeah, basically this guy,
This is
he
at
was
the
like, he was
masjid?
yeah,
at the masjid. He was asking questions about like yo about certain topics, right? And he's like, who do I go to? And I have questions. Like, and the sheikh was like, go to your parents first. If you can't go to your parents, go to like someone else. Go to your friends. This is where it broke my heart. He's 16 years old, dude. In high school, there's no such thing as like not having friends. He's like, but what if you don't have no any friends? And the sheikh, and he spoke in Arabic, maybe because he didn't want anybody else to understand. And then it broke my heart because in my head I'm like, I went to a high school where there was no way you could not be friends. Like everybody had their own group. You were part within your own group.
possible. Yeah,
And he was 16 years old. He was like,
Like
I
you
don't
don't
have
have a
any
single
friends,
friend.
right? He
Yeah.
couldn't go talk to anybody, right? Which broke my heart because I'm like, at that age, you need that person to talk to. Remember, like I was like, we were saying bye to the guy. I went up to him like, hey, what's your name? He's like, my name is Ahmed. And I told him, hey man, like keep up the good work. Like you're a young kid. Like don't let anything stop you. Because I feel like a lot of people, what he doesn't understand is a blessing. You're about to realize how many fake people are in high school. We
Yeah.
all went there. How many people
Like
do you still speak to?
not as much to be honest. Like I think he's saving himself some time and headaches to be honest.
it's true. It's true.
100%.
You
Your
know,
genuine friendships start a lot later in life, when in your
yeah.
20s.
It honestly it depends. Like the people I hang out with now, like the people I considered my brothers, I all met in the beginning of high school. Prior to high school, I had no real friends. Like I can't like I could count them on one hand, you know, prior to high
Oh,
school starting. And I can think about I literally can name them in my head right now. I'm not gonna name drop them because it doesn't validate the conversation more, but they are less than five, you know? And
and
coming into
yeah,
grade nine, the group of people that I met then at 15, 16 are like the same people that I hang out with and like think about and call and message every single day to this day, you know? And my
It's
business partner
funny
being one
because
of them.
yeah. Shout out to Cash.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kashi Zig. I'm a fucking legend.
But there's not a lot of people who I talk to. Like it's funny because I had to go through a lot of stuff like work now. Like people from college. There's only two people, three people I probably speak to. Two people like one of them who's gonna do our website, which is coming soon, ladies and gentlemen. But not a lot of people. And I feel like my friendships is less than five. Like I can count them on my hand who I go to when I need help. And obviously Mo and Stat are one of them. And some of them are just like cordial ones. Like if it's like you're still cool with them, but you're not gonna go out of your way to go say hi unless it's a group setting. You're there, you laugh at old times and whatever. But I do definitely believe is like I said this yesterday. I used to get pissed off when my parents used to tell me, or people used to tell me, or my cousins who are older than me, "Oh, be careful who you pick with your friends." I thought I was strong, like I was able to like maneuver certain situations. Man, God just saved me. I don't know how in 4 years, but I just got saved because I was sharing a lot of bad people. Mind you, sometimes I'll be like with the wrong crew, and I had to stay with the wrong crew. I went and went left.
You just gotta depend on other people, like Mo, for example. You
Like
know,
who says
as long
well?
as long as you have people that are gonna check you and like just like take you in the right direction, then
Yeah.
that's all you can hope
Well,
for.
I definitely do believe, and I'll say one thing about social media because obviously, like you brought, there's another thing that you said that kind of sparked an idea. A lot of people want to go for like they want to get validated by people online. Like for example, girls want to be called beautiful, or for example, guys
Yeah.
want to get comments by or likes by girls, which to me is like
Mhm.
meaningless. Because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, just like people might not even see your photo, or some people just
But it
they
doesn't
don't.
translate into real life.
It doesn't
Period.
because we probably let's say for example they all get 100 likes each. Bro, those how many people of those 100 you can talk to? You name them.
Two,
Exactly.
three, or
Probably two people
four.
on that, two, three, four people you talk to, and then the rest of them, you're like, unless they send you a meme or in a group chat with them, you're not gonna even bother talking to them. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
I have a question. My question for you is, I remember one time you came to your shop, and I was just picking your mind. It was right before I got married, and I was just asking all these questions like how to be a better husband and how to deal with like life and everything. And the one question I asked you was like, how do you deal with time? Because you were already so busy before, and then once you got married, how do you fit in the marriage life into your schedule? And you gave me
Um,
such a beautiful answer that I use up until this day. And obviously, I've gotten better over time. But
yeah.
for anyone that's out there, like, how do you use your time so wisely?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, you just have to be aware. That's like the best way I can explain it. Like you have to be aware of how much time that actually is in a day, and you have to just allot it correctly. You're gonna lose a lot of sleep. Let me tell you that. You're gonna have to sacrifice a lot of things. Like you have to sacrifice a lot of things that you generally like to do for a short or long period of time. Um, do you guys sleep?
Like,
Hmm?
Honestly, no. And I've been staying up doing a lot of extra work because obviously that
Like
time I used to have before, you need to save that for that
like
person. So you gotta
exact
you gotta
like
sacrifice a
how
few times
many
in your sleep
hours of
time.
sleep? A lot of successful people, you ask them, like they don't sleep, bro. Like, and they'll be married with kids and they still work 10, 12 hours a day and they sleep like 6 hours and they go
I'm
years
in,
and years and
yeah,
years running this. Like,
yeah.
so you have to pick and choose what you're going to sacrifice, which aspects of life are you going to like try to withhold for certain periods of time to make things happen. It's very fluid. It's very fluid trying to organize your time. You can't be very rigid about it because there's a lot of things that you can't control. I work at 12
Mhm.
today. I work at 12 today. I could leave 11:30 and I'll make it on time. But I could also leave at 12 and I could be late because someone crashed on the 403, you know? There's
Yeah.
like you literally cannot control time, so you have to understand it's fluid and you can't always hold yourself like if you're gonna hold yourself accountable all the time and be negative and downing yourself, your life is gonna be very long and mundane, you know? You have to understand that like God is great, God is willing, and you just have to get up and go. Whether you have a busy schedule or a dead schedule. Like something my mom always told me that like God bless my mom. I love her so much. She's a genius. She always would tell me just like "Qumu is'a," She means like just wake up and like is'a is like just like putting your faith in God and like depending on God. Just like get up and leave. That's what she was like. Just get up and
Yeah.
leave. and just leave it to God. Leave it up to God. As long as you
My
wake
mom's
your ass
yeah.
up 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 12 in the afternoon, it doesn't matter. As long as you woke up with intent to go get it, God is gonna put it in
In
your
your
direction,
favor.
in your
Yeah.
favor. Not always, but like بيفتحها عليك. He's gonna put it in the situation where it's like if you decided to go be a barber, if you decided to start a podcast, if you decided to start a clothing business or an online website, like you guys are working on a website, the fact that you decided and took the one step, God's gonna give you that 2 steps forward, you know? So time is very fluid.
Yeah.
How have
Well,
you dealt with your time? Or both of you?
important. Well, for me,
Time
I think I've always been good at time.
Yeah, it moves faster
Or
and
how?
faster. There's a relativity that happens that I've noticed
Yeah.
just with age.
Yeah, go
Like
on.
I'm feeling time moving
Yeah.
faster.
Oh,
Like
100%, dude. Like we're all
if you think
26
about
here.
it, yeah. Like our parents, they're all in their like 50s to 60s, right? So look at the relativity. Like 1 year for them is 1/55th of their year of their life. So it's fast. When you're 10 years old, 5 years is half your life.
Mhm.
So you're like, holy shit, like the time is going so slow. When you're 26, it's just like the more and more you age, the more and more time starts to move like right below your feet.